What's up, fight fans, and welcome to another breakdown here on the Vegas Odds YouTube channel. I'm your host of Fight Analyst Garrett Kerman. With me, as always, is my man Joe Danger himself, Jessie Hobson. What's up, man? How's it going?
Going good, man. I got I'm seeing Halloween tomorrow. Super hyped. Halloween itself is right around the corner. And what goes good with Halloween? Fights. So let's talk about them.
Absolutely, man. Last week we did great. We had some great fights. Actually, drawing a blank as to what we were watching last week.
CFFC.
Yes. Cage Fury Fighting Championship. Fights kind of went exactly how we kind of envisioned, other than the Santo Curatolo fight. Other than that, everything else kind of went pretty much to plan. We weren't too sure on the co-main. The main was pretty much spot on, but all in all, good fight card. We made a little bit of coin, and we're keeping it going this week. LFA 144 on tap. I think it's a pretty well put together fight card. We have a 145-pound strap on the line as Muin, Gafurov, and Diego Silva go to battle. I think that's going to be a great fight. We got a great flyweight fight. Horiuchi taking on Juan, Puerta, Contender Series alumni there. And then you got Jordan Heiderman, who was on the last season of Tough, taking on Daquan Buckley. Let's just jump right into it. Our first fight up, we're just going to go through the top 5 fights. The first fight that we're going to talk about is in the flyweight division between Christian Natividad and Israel Galvan. Right now, the line is set at Natividad minus 350 up to minus 400 on Bet Online. To come back on Galvan plus 240 to plus 300. Who do you got?
Your boy Galvan looking like that's a mugshot photo there. Kind of funky.
A little bit.
Yeah, here's the deal with this one. We're probably going to go to decision. Navidad appears to be the hungrier fighter, because he's not in prison. But he hasn't really fought anyone with a great record. He knocks out the guys he should knock out, and he gets the nod with every slight step up. Galvan, on the other hand, he's gritty. He's the definition of gritty. This guy, he has a few losses, but I think that this is a lot closer of a fight than the odds indicate. While Galvan tends to lose decisions, Navidad hasn't faced anyone that looks for the knockout. I like Navidad to win by decision, but I'm okay with taking the stab on Galvan at plus 300 odds. He could find the finish, and if he doesn't, the decision is kind of a 50-50. I'm picking Navidad to win, but I might sprinkle a little bit on your boy Israel Galvan. He's Dallas, Texas. Why not?
Christian Natividad is the brother of Kevin Natividad, who was in the UFC. I'm not sure if he still is. He had a short stint. I believe he didn't win a fight, but I mean, these guys are pretty much the same type of fighter, except Natividad is at 135. They're small stature, they're super stocky, they're pretty jacked. They got some insane power. We've seen that on Natividad. He can put anybody's lights out just one punch. Albeit this definitely is a step up in competition from his previous fights. I feel like this is definitely still a winnable fight for him. It's a fight where he could put on a good performance against a decent competition and kind of put his name on the map. He's definitely a guy that we could see fight for the flyweight championship in LFA. I feel like that's what they're kind of grooming him to be. I mean, he's 4-0 right now. He's pretty much been a mainstay in the LFA regional promotion. I think majority of his fights have come with LFA, and I feel like they're just doing as they can to kind of build him up, hype him up, get him some decent wins, some flashy wins, and then throw him in there for the LFA flyweight title, which I kind of expect him to fight for soon. And then if he gets the dub, probably a Contender Series shot or a short notice fight like his brother got. So we'll see what happens. I got Natividad winning this fight. I think he's more explosive. I think he's got the power advantage, and I feel like this is a fight where they're just kind of trying to make him look good. I mean, you got a guy that's 61 in the world in the United States, according to Tapology, whereas Natividad is number 2 in the state of Arizona. I don't know. We'll see. I got Natividad coming through with the dub. Keep it going. 5-0. Possibly fighting for the title. Next up, we got a fight in the middleweight division between Ravel and Renato Valente. The line set at minus 200 for Valente to come back on Ravel plus 160. Who do you got?
Ravel. His image looks like how they do those new computer
oh yeah
AI. It looks like it's you type in like draw me see an old man as a dinosaur, or a dinosaur as an old man. Like, that's what the AI you input to get Jared Ravel. You know, another fight that'll probably see the scorecards. Ravel being 38 is the first thing that jumps out at me. However, he does have the height and reach advantage. I'm just not sure if that'll be enough. Valente has a checkered fight history, trading wins with multiple losses, but he should get back on track here. The most recent loss coming from UFC fighter Josh Fremd, friend of the show. You know, pretty big deal. And from the tape I watched with Ravel, there is no way he could go 15 minutes with Fremd. Nope. I doubt he could go 8 or maybe 6. I'm assuming Valente just outpaces Ravel here, and we get a slow and steady decision win from Valente. If you snag the guy at minus 115, consider yourself lucky, because you are a smart individual.
Yeah, I agree there. I think Valente, he's obviously 8 years younger. He's 30 years old. He's still in his prime. He went the distance with Josh Fremd, like you said, and it was a back and forth battle. Granted, Fremd won majority of the fight, but Valente showed that he can hang in there with UFC caliber fighters. He's got the aggression. He's got the power. He's going to come forward. He can take a punch, and I feel like he's just going to be too much for Ravel. 38 years old, coming off a loss. Don't expect him to be any better than he's been in the past, so I'm taking Valente here. Minus 200 maybe look like a steal. I mean, you got a guy that's 8 years younger. He's fought the better competition. He's looked better as of late. I'm going to take Valente here. Next up, my favorite fight on the fight card is in the flyweight division between Yuma Horiuchi and Juan Puerta. Right now, the line set at Horiuchi is minus 110 to minus 135 favored to come back on Puerta, minus 120 to plus 105 on Bet Online. Who do you got?
Yeah, that Yuma picture is kind of funny too. He looks like a little towel boy. While Puerta, you know, he's had some fun fights on his resume, but I think Horiuchi, I think that's the side here. He has good forward pressure, good volume, decent takedowns. I know that's right off of Garrett's book, but I had to steal it because it's true. Puerta is a stud as well, but I just feel like this is a bad matchup for him. Horiuchi has beaten better fighters than Puerta, so I'll happily take him at dog money, which I did earlier this week. Let's not forget that this is Puerta, that Puerta's also stepping in as a replacement. Not sure if that will be a huge factor, but it is definitely something to mention. I feel like this is actually an easier fight for Yuma Horiuchi.
I've been a huge fan of both of these fighters for quite some time. I've watched Horiuchi for a majority of his time on the regional scene. I've seen Puerta live. I fucking love this fight. I am super excited for this fight. As far as the side goes, I gotta go with Ichiban Yuma Horiuchi. Forward pressure, throws a ton of volume, good offensive wrestling, good defensive grappling.
Yeah, tell me more.
I mean, let's just keep piling it on. I don't know. He's just, I mean, what I don't like about him, let's get the disadvantages here. We've seen in his last fight on the road to UFC in, I forgot where they fought in Asia. Unfortunately, he just kept plodding forward, not a ton of head movement, was getting countered a lot. I don't expect Puerta to be able to have that same type of game plan and be successful, because that's not his MO. His MO is in the grappling realm, dragging his opponents to the mat and eventually finishing them there. I don't expect Puerta to get the finish on the mat. Horiuchi is actually a pretty damn good grappler there, and I don't think Puerta is a great enough striker, as we've seen in the past in his last 2 fights. He's coming off a loss, first time in a while, and then on his Contender Series fight, he arguably lost that fight too. And I bet on Puerta. I was very confident in that fight, and I skated with the skin of my teeth in that fight, getting a win. So he hasn't looked good as of late. I feel like the age is really going to be a factor here. He's 34 years old. He's not, and all that, wear and tear, I feel like is starting to really show in his last 2 fights. He has 30 fights as a professional, and he's 34 years old. He's going to be 35 in 4 months. Yuma's only 25. I think he's going to be the much fresher fighter, especially as the fight goes on. His cardio is great, and he showed that in the Charles Johnson fight, where he went 25 minutes with Charles Johnson. Yeah, I'm expecting Yuma to really put the pace, put the pressure on him, and eventually possibly maybe get a late finish, because Puerta tends to fade as the fight goes on, especially if he goes grapple heavy early on. I expect Horiuchi either to finish him late or get the decision win.
Yeah, I'm assuming decision. I forgot to mention that. I think he gets the decision win. I think it's going to be a little back and forth, but like you said, I think Puerta slows down round 3. Yuma takes over. I mean, all you need is 2 to get your hand raised, and I think he's going to win one of those, 2 of those 3 rounds.
I feel like the first round's going to be the most competitive round. I think Puerta probably gets a nod the first round, but then he's going to start to fade as rounds 2 and 3 go on. That's where Horiuchi, I feel like, is going to pick up, because Horiuchi tends to be a slow starter. Doesn't throw a ton of volume right off the bat, but his forward pressure tends to break his opponents, and just being in his face. Puerta's always going to have to be on his back foot. He's always going to have to be circling off the cage, and he's always going to have to defend more than being offensive. So I think that's going to play right into Yuma's, advantages. So I'm taking him. Kudos to you getting him at dog money. I thought we'll be able to get maybe more dog money on him, but people are actually starting to see, what we're seeing. We're seeing, Yuma's a pretty decent prospect. I know he's alternating wins and losses, but there gets really good competition. He does get finished. He's super tough, super durable, and he's just losing close decisions. So I got Yuma, and let's keep it moving. In our co-main event, we got a fight in the heavyweight division between Jordan Heiderman and Daquan Buckley. Right now, Heiderman is a minus 225 to minus 250 favorite. Come back on Buckley plus 175 to plus 185. Who do you got?
I'm commenting on all the photos here, but Daquan, bro, you got to change it up. It looks like a Tinder profile pic, man. He's like, yeah, here I am. Heiderman was one of those guys in the tough house that if he tightens his tools a bit, he could be something special. I hope he has done that, but even if he hasn't, he's a force to be reckoned with. Dude comes out hot and heavy and never really gives up until he's dead ass tired. Daquan hasn't really fought that great a competition, but he is undefeated. The big tell is that he went to a split decision with someone with an 0-0 record. I mean, who knows? Daquan Fuse could be a big deal, but I've never heard of him. Either way, I'd assume Heiderman gets it done in round 1 or round 2, probably vicious KO. This opened up as a minus 200, and that was a blessing. But even at minus 225, I'd say you can probably start counting your money.
Yeah, I'm surprised it hasn't really moved a lot just yet. I guess people are a little bit waiting towards fight time on Friday night, where this fight card will be taking place, I believe, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on UFC Fight Pass. But yeah, I see exactly what you're seeing. I think he was one of the more better prospects on the tough house. Yes, he lost the fight and he got dropped in 2 of the 3 fights he had or something like that. But I feel like this is a winnable fight for him. He's going against a guy that's very inexperienced. He's 3-0. Heiderman can use his wrestling experience that he has. I believe he's a college athlete.
He looks like one.
Yeah, at least that. And he's got heavy hands. I think he's the brighter prospect here. I feel like, and he's fought in LFA before. I feel like they're just trying to ramp him up too, because he got their newly crowned heavyweight champion. So, they just crowned their heavyweight champion. So they could have Heiderman as a guy that's on the up and up and, chase that title at the LFA and then possibly get a contender series shot. That's, it's just what their MO is, hype these guys up, especially the undefeated prospects, give them a little bit of competition, make them look good and feed them off, to the contender series or short notice fights in the UFC. So I expect that to happen here. Heiderman gets it done inside 2 rounds and he's going to look damn good doing it. We're up to our main event. This is a great fight. I'm looking forward to it. It's in the bantamweight division between Gafurov and Diego Silva. Right now, Gafurov minus 145 to minus 163 to come back on Silva, plus 115 to plus 120. Who do you got?
This one is great. Like you said, both these guys have fought the who's who of ex-UFC fighters. Strictly based on their records, though, Gafurov is either winning by KO or losing by decision. And Silva seems to get the nod when it does go to the cards. So call me crazy, but I'm liking the dog here. Silva may be older, but he's been very active lately. And his most recent loss is Daniel Argueta. That's not a bad loss. He also trains with some killers over at Fusion XL Performance. Shout out to a friend of the show, Mike Beast Boy Davis. And yeah, I just think that this fight has the potential to go all the way, and Silva should be able to do enough to impress me and the judges. I like Diego Silva via decision.
Gafurov is a guy that I bet heavily on when he was on the contender series. Looked good early and then faded therefore right after that. And it kind of sucked because I felt like he was a good prospect. He looked really good, but he just wasn't in shape for the fight. And I feel like guys that could put a pace and the pressure on him really tend to wear him out. Gafurov, he's got heavy hands. He's got some pretty good grappling to boot. I feel like he's going to go in there and he's going to land some takedowns, going to land some heavy hands early, but this is a 5-round fight. I feel like he's going to fade as the fight goes on if he doesn't get a finish inside 2.5 rounds. Silva is a jiu-jitsu black belt, so I don't expect him to get finished on the mat, even if Gafurov takes him down. And Silva's got some really good leg kicks. He's very dynamic on the feet. He's fought really good competition, like we stated. He just beat Askar, who's another good flyweight prospect. Granted, that should have never been a split decision. I thought that should have been unanimous. I feel like there's a lot to like on the Silva side, especially that he's a dog. I feel like you can wait it out a little bit, get a better price on him. Yeah, cash on a good dog play on the main event. we see Silva be the next LFA bantamweight champion.
Initially, I was all Gafurov, but then the more I dug into it, I was like, it's hard to pick against Silva, based on who he trains with, based on, his resume, like, who he's beat. I was just like, Gafurov is good, but I mean, is he Diego Silva good? So that's who I'm siding with.
I mean, he's not even Chad and Helliger good.
Yeah, I know. And that's another thing. I mean, he had some pretty decent wins, but he had some questionable losses.
I can't get that Chad and Helliger loss out of my head because I do not think highly of Chad and Helliger as a UFC fighter. He's tough as nails. He's got some legit skills, but do I think he should be on the UFC roster? No. Unfortunately, I'm just being real here. And then Gafurov loses to him. I think Diego Silva is a little bit better of a prospect than Chad and Helliger. He's more well-rounded. Maybe he's not as tough as Chad and Helliger, but I think
Silva... he has a cool name. It's a lot of syllables. It's, so it has that going for it.
Yeah, that he does. So that's what we got for you guys for this week's breakdown. LFA 144 on tap Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, UFC Fight Pass. We will be back next week for more regional MMA breakdowns, putting money into your pockets. Please go like, subscribe, follow Vegas Odds on YouTube and all social platforms, and we will be back next week.